What I've wanted to do with the organization, even more than create schools, is to perpetuate the idea of the growth mindset. There are very few limitations to what human beings can do at any age. The idea of it never being too late to turn your entire trajectory around is inspiring to me. We talk very little about innate ability. If we valued innate ability, we would have some sense of failure. The key variables in getting better at something are effort and time.
Whenever you check over your work, you're getting it right. That's a really good sign. Do you feel good about that? A little bit? Enough to smile? Okay, there we go. A little bit. All right. It's really helpful to catch kids when they make that conscious choice from doing the wrong thing to doing the right thing, and so to celebrate that.
We pay attention to growth rather than achievement on many occasions. The kid who moves from a 40% performance to a 60% performance deserves a lot more recognition than a kid who moves from a 90 to a 95% performance. They're both valued because they both grew, but to see such enormous growth is really important.
And when you do that in mass, constantly focusing on what are those moments when you chose to grow and celebrate those, the difference is huge.
We have teachers that believe 100% in student growth, and they show that and demonstrate that in everything they do every day, all of the time.
Does the place that you live determine who you are?
So every adult here will tell you you can go to college. Every adult here will tell you if you work hard, you'll be successful. What I do when I go in the classroom is I give an observation. I note 3 things. One is what I want the teacher to keep doing. The next is what I want them to tweak. So slight changes I want them to make, and what they're changing should be related to their current instructional goal. So I look up each teacher's instructional goal. I paste that at the top of the email, and I look to see, are they actually working toward meeting that goal? So for Ms. Burkow, her goal was to increase quantity of student practice, and you can see that she really was doing that because the students were working independently rather than her giving direct instruction in front of the room. So I said, good, you're meeting your goal. Kids are increasing their time practicing. The teacher gets that immediately. She can respond back to me, or she just takes that feedback and implements it. Copied on this email are all the other coaches. And so when the coach goes through to give her development meeting, because I don't coach her directly, her coach will be able to pull up that email and say, look, I can see we have evidence that you are meeting this goal, or we need to work on this still. Ideally, you would be able to get into every classroom every day. I've tried that. That doesn't usually work because it depends on the time of day you're doing it and who's teaching and when. But you just come in, give it 3 to 5 minute observation, and then walk out.
I want to know which box is the best buy for me.
An observation email will say, this is what your goal was, this is what I saw, keep this, tweak this, and a by the way. So I have a snapshot of what was going on in my classroom as soon as they leave, and that is another big factor in me being able to understand what's happening in my classroom on my own.
It's the idea of you can get feedback constantly. We have tried to narrow it so that you're getting feedback on a specific instructional goal rather than everything random. We also do observations that are 20 minutes in length, but that is something that happens maybe once a month or every 3 weeks, not something that happens every day.
So I have to pay $11.25 for this whole box that has bags inside of it. How am I going to figure out how much each one of the little bitty bags that's inside costs?
My instructional coach comes to observe my classroom at least once a week, and I meet with him at least once a week. First question he always asks is, what is your goal for the course? And so then I tell him my academic goals for my kids.
100% at 5.5 or above on the GMAID, and 70%, 100% scoring a 70% or higher on the pre-algebra final.
We talk about how I mastered or did not master my development goal for the previous week, then decide whether to keep that same goal or come up with a new one.
I think some of it just comes from them needing to feel happy while they're doing math at the same time, because they probably have not had those 2 things together.
And then most times we'll practice, and he gives me feedback right then. I do it a couple more times, and then that's it. After a class period, I can think about my class in a completely different way than I could have at the beginning of the school year. So in the beginning of the school year, it would have been very much like, did I say all of the things that were on my paper for me to say? Did all of the children stay in their seats, and were they all quiet? Yes, 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 or yes, yes, no. That's the way that I could think about my class. Having someone to sit down and talk to me about, when you did this thing, this is what I saw in the classroom from your kids. This is the mastery level that it produced on your exit tickets. How are all of these things correlated? I am much more insightful about the things that are happening in my class after it's over, and even in the moment. Tomorrow's always a new day is the thing that I have to think about. Growth mindset in kids starts with growth mindset in yourself. So I sometimes have days where I want to shut down and say, I'm just a first year, I don't know how to do this. I feel like the weak link on the hallway. And it takes reminding myself of other parts of me and other things that I'm doing well to motivate me to like fill in the gaps in the places where I'm not.
The two school leaders who run our two new schools had the worst application processes that I've ever seen when they were teachers at our original school. The first time I saw them, I didn't think they were going to be able to make it in our school, and I didn't think that they were really going to be able to make it out of their own classrooms that day. The difference was when I gave them feedback and came back a couple of weeks later, they were extraordinary. The folks who actually have achieved at the highest levels in our school have, for a long time, considered themselves works in progress. That's how our kids need to think about themselves, that's how we need to think about ourselves, and I hope that we reinforce that for each other as a community.
Information always flows down from the students to the teachers to the principals and leadership. We try to like flip the pyramid upside down so that the kids are on top. The teacher knows the most about the data on the ground. So the teacher needs to respond to students, the deans respond to the teachers, and the principal responds to the deans and the teachers as well. So this whole school changes on a dime. Things change dramatically all the time because we say what's best for what we need right now.
If I had to pinpoint one of the things that I like most about this school, is that we are a school that learns constantly and changes based on the needs of our kids. And it's not so much like that we have this cookie cutter thing that we're gonna fit our kids into, because we got kids in who were not ready to access Algebra 1 content, and instead of pushing them there and continuing their like journey of feeling unsuccessful in math and not being able to master content, we made a course that was for them. Because this is what you need, this is where you are. We're gonna meet you where you are, and we're gonna continue to push you and push you faster than you would anywhere else. But like you're still gonna get there, and we're gonna start wherever you are.
What's missing from right here? You have it basically, but you just have a whole bunch of numbers. So you're not looking at an equation anymore if you get rid of an equal sign and any operations.
Positive 3 over 7. Wait. Yeah, all right.
So what's the answer?
B.
Yep. Oh. You have to be able to explain it. You can't just have it. You got to be able to explain it. Keep going.
In my freshman and sophomore year, completely different person. I didn't care about school, I didn't care about life, I didn't care about anything. My GPA when I was a sophomore was a 1.5. Like now I get A's and B's, 3.0 GPA. I stay on top of my game.
If you was to just have a positive attitude with everything you do, I think better results will always happen. Not to let society take me down and to always be like above standards. I think I'm doing a good job at that so far.
I think my vision for New Orleans would be any single child goes to any single school and they know this will be a top-rate education. It's a given that you're going to go to college. It's a given that you're going to go to school. And you're seeing a turning point right now. All these schools that were failing children, they're being shut down. And the kids walking around where a couple years ago, you might see them wearing sweatshirts for a school that I know is not giving them the education they deserve. I walk around now and I see them wearing like KIPP t-shirts and wearing Sci Academy t-shirts. And like, okay, cool. No matter where you're coming from, like when you go to that school, people are gonna believe in you and people are gonna really care about you, people are gonna fight for you. And that makes me really happy. And when you have that happening at a city level, where you can't go to a failing school, where people from all walks of life are working together because they care about you, I mean, that's huge.